What's a move that feels like it happened days ago, but the Denver Broncos making it official, hiring Nathaniel Hackett first thing this morning. Hackett comes over from Green Bay, where he guided a prolific Green Bay offense for the past 3 seasons. The 42-year-old is known for that stellar work he did with Blake Bortles back in Jacksonville as their OC in 2016 and 2018 before heading to Green Bay and, of course, helping Matt LaFleur win a record of 39 games in the first 3 seasons as HC there. As for Denver, despite winning their first 3 games and finishing 7-10 record, recording their 5th consecutive losing season, this will be Hackett's first stint as a HC. He will have some money to spend. The franchise had the 6th most salary cap and just under $45 million available for him this offseason. Taking a look with other coaching opens, of course, you got about 6.5. And I say half because the situation with Vegas remains in flux. They're looking for a head coach, but might stick with Rich Bisaccia, of course, stepping in that interim role this past season. So one of those wait-and-see situations there. All right, joining us now, NFL Insider Josina Anderson. A busy day for her, and let's start there with Hackett, hired by the Broncos. Of course, the easy connection. We're thinking of Aaron Rodgers. What does that mean for possibly him departing Green Bay and maybe heading to the Mile High?
Well, it certainly makes it easier when you have an embedded connection with the former Packers offensive coordinator, now dubbed to be the head coach in Denver. But really, his placement there with the Broncos just goes to show you how talks can be so in flux and tenuous at the same time. You know, the Denver Broncos started off this week with an enhanced focus on Dan Quinn, also the Rams offensive coordinator, and Kevin O'Connell, and also Nathaniel Hackett, who they clearly hired. And for everything that I have heard, the conversations with Hackett Monday evening were very engaging, went into the early part of the evening, but did not culminate in a definitive offer. And I thought it was a very deft move from Hackett's agent to secure another interview for his client in Jacksonville as talk stalled with Byron, Leftwich, and reports of Matt Eberflus getting reinserted into that conversation in Jacksonville. And that sometimes, you know what, Brandon, that's all it takes to light a fire under the seat of the general managers that are making these calls, namely right now, George Payton, the contract negotiator in Denver, being called to kind of accelerate talks with Hackett. And there you go, now being dubbed to be the head coach there in Denver. We know he is the son of a longtime NFL assistant and Paul Hackett. Obviously, as we mentioned, the offensive coordinator there in Green Bay, getting a lot of public compliments from number 12 there as being organized, someone who does a good job in simplifying the game plan for players, being easy-natured, and all of those other things. And obviously, as a bonus, potentially making it easier for Aaron Rodgers to come to Denver. But as you know, none of that is solidified and for sure. And really, the Broncos just have to go ahead and make their move right now.
All right, so of course, you mentioned there Hackett did interview in Jacksonville, but it seems like Byron Leftwich is on deck here. Is it Byron Leftwich or bust there for Jacksonville for their next head coach?
Well, it's very interesting because Byron Leftwich, as you know, has had the talks with the Jacksonville Jaguars, former player there as well. I had a conversation, an interview with them in person Tuesday. I'm told that he was very charming and got off well with owner Shad Khan there. But, you know, eventually when you're having those talks, you have to be on the same page when it comes to who the general manager is, the staff hires that you want to bring along. And obviously, everything always comes down to money as well. But from what I'm hearing, those talks hit somewhat of a snag. And what you're also hearing, talking to league sources around the NFL, is what the presence of general manager Trent Baalke is down there in Jacksonville in terms of, one, losing out on the conversations with Bill O'Brien and that advocation there. Some sources around the league feeling like Trent Baalke is concerned with self-preservation, his own personal alignment and what have you. This is not what I'm saying. I'm just reflecting what I'm hearing just in talking to people around the league. But now with Matt Eberflus having his conversations with the Bears and being dubbed there, and Nathaniel Hackett out of the mix, the Jacksonville Jaguars were trying to get out of the proverbial corner in terms of how maybe they were being cornered with their talks with Byron Leftwich, and now seemingly right back there. Though interesting nugget coming this morning with their talks with former Denver head coach Vic Fangio. But for one, when you're looking at who is the quarterback in Jacksonville, I, for one, don't see how you don't go with an offensive pick for this head coach.
Yeah, you got to find somebody there to partner with Trevor Lawrence in his second year and into the future there in Jacksonville. All right, so Byron Leftwich, not the only coordinator from the Bucs organization, highly wanted man. Todd Bowles as well. Interview with the Raiders today, a place that he might have some interest in. What are you hearing about that situation?
Well, first of all, this was the job that was open the earliest. I mean, yes, they had interim head coach Rich Bisaccia there, who has already had his interview with Raiders brass, taking over there in that position since week 6 with John Gruden out of the picture and being fired. And everything that I was hearing from the beginning is that they wanted to take their time. And that was the case even up through this point today. But as things can quickly change, you see the dominoes falling, right? Todd Bowles is on his way to have that conversation with Las Vegas. From everything I hear, this is the job that he's very keen on and would like to have. We'll see if it goes that way. Now, from what I also understand is that conversations remain in flux when it comes to the Patriots personnel man there, Dave Ziegler, who's already had conversations with the Raiders, not having a formal interview yet with Josh McDaniels, so we'll keep an eye on how that duo pans out. But it's just like, as a source said to me last night, that their inclinations from the conversations that they have had is that Mark Davis would like to, or his preference would be to still make a splash hire with whatever he does with the Las Vegas head job. But we'll see how that pans out.
All right, what about the Giants? Probably a little late to the party of others, of course, letting go of their head coaches a little late. But what are you hearing about their coaching search this morning?
Well, they would continue to like to be methodical with everything that happened there with Joe Judge. You heard Mr. Mara talking about wanting to take their time with their general manager job that has now gone to Mr. Shane. And then the same way also with their head coaching search. Brian Flores in the mix there, though he's going to have to answer questions for how things kind of devolve there with the Dolphins. And I'm hearing that they want to stay the course as of right now with their scheduled interviews that also include Bills defensive coordinator Leslie Frazier interviewing there on Friday. Obviously, there continues to be flirtations with the offensive coordinator with the Bills and Brian Daboll, who also has his eyes on what's going on with Dolphins and his relationship with Tua, going back to the college days as well for Tua there. So we'll see how that evolves. But either way, what I feel like I'm hearing, particularly with Mara making a very strong statement yesterday saying that they're definitively not going to go after Deshaun Watson, and just who they ended up picking for a general manager and just covering the Giants for the last 10 years that I have. The Giants have their brand first and foremost with how they feel like they are revered amongst the teams in the NFL, with how they feel like they're in the upper crust of that pedigree of organizations, and especially teams that have head coaching vacancies. And I think that their head coach will reflect that in their desire to make sure as best as possible that everybody is aligned. And certainly Shane's present there as the former assistant general manager of the Bills bodes well for a client like, a candidate like Daboll, but we will see.
They might think they're up here, Josina, but in the NFC East, they're way down there somewhere. So we'll see how that pans out. As you mentioned, it starts with the head coach. We'll see how that hire happens there with the G-men. As always, Josina.
And I just wanted to mention really quickly that these connections are always very, very important, because you see Eberflus getting the job with Chicago, also having the same agent as the new general manager, Ryan Poles.
As always, you're keeping us on our toes there, giving us the latest there. Josina Anderson breaking it down, our NFL insider. Appreciate it all the time. Don't forget, the conversation continues on Inside the NFL. Tune in weekly there, Tuesday night streaming, the Emmy Award-winning studio show at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. Check out JB and the Fellas exclusively on Paramount+.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.